By the way, if you skip this video, you're gonna get no bitches. Now just peep game and lock in real quick. Now, I think we all can agree that Pokemon isn't a hard game. In fact, I'd argue that Pokemon games are more Mickey than Mickey Mouse himself. That shit is so easy to the point where I don't even want to play Pokemon games anymore. If I want to play something more difficult, I'd just boot up my computer and play some Pokemon ROM hack. But what if somehow Pokemon was actually difficult? And that is what this video is gonna cover. I'm gonna go over the perks and the downsides of what if Pokemon games were actually difficult from start to finish, and ultimately my own take on Pokemon being difficult. Now, let's just get this over with. For starters, why should Pokemon games even be difficult anyways? Well, for a lot of the games, people say Pokemon is too easy and should actually be a challenge. Now, this isn't including anything that's like self-imposed rule sets for like someone was playing like a specific game, all that good stuff. But I did make a poll saying if Pokemon games should be harder, and 70% of you said yes, so difficulty isn't inherently a bad thing. I'd argue difficulty can be a good thing. You see, I made a video going over hard Pokemon fights that's doing pretty well, by the way. You should definitely check it out. And someone in the comments mentioned that BDSP isn't really a hard game until the Elite Four, and I very much agree with this. It's good that the final part of the game is difficult, but would it be a bad thing if the whole game was like this? People respect difficulty of fights. That's why everyone doesn't shut up about Whitney's Miltank being hard, which I personally don't think it's that hard of a fight, but so many other people do. Let's say if Pokemon was a difficult game, one of the perks would be that the games would be much more respected. For the many reasons I despise the Let's Go games is that they were very much too easy, and that made them hard for me to respect them as Pokemon games. The reason why some people respect Ultra Sun and Moon is because they're unironically some of the hardest vanilla Pokemon games in the series. It's good to have a boss fight to ego check the player to make sure they aren't too cocky of themselves. People tend to respect hard boss battles as people really seem to respect the BB League from the Indigo Disc DLC due to how difficult they are. Another perk would be that the games would obviously be more fun. Now, a game being fun or not determined by their difficulty is subjective, but personally for me, because of how hard some boss battles are, it can feel somewhat satisfying to beat it, and that's what makes a game more fun for me in a certain aspect of it. A reason why I play competitive Pokemon is because it can be hard, but when you overcome that said difficulty, it hits like dopamine and it can feel super satisfying at times. I feel like if you make a more difficult game, it feels so much more rewarding to beat it, especially if you include self-imposed challenges to make it harder for yourself. But that's just me. One more thing you have to add are that some Pokemon ROM hacks, specifically the Drayano games, are fun while also being a relative challenge. For example, Renegade Platinum is the best example of this. While it's not too hard for the hardcore gamers out there, it's probably still a challenge for most casual players, and the game does give you a lot of options as well. Like, you can get an Aerodactyl and a Gengar before the Grass Gym Dog. But I do think that Renegade Platinum is still a great game. However, there are some downsides to making Pokemon difficult, believe it or not. But before I cover that, I just want to make sure and talk to you real quick and ask you to subscribe to the channel. My goal is to get 2,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and we are relatively close to it, so please subscribe. Now back to the video. Now, one of the downsides of Pokemon being difficult is how the casual player base will react to this. Now, I will say, these are the same casual players who are advocating for more difficult fights, as I doubt they're able to handle the entire game being difficult. You gotta remember, there are people that play Pokemon that aren't just sweaty gamers like myself. Also, kids play this game too, and I think a child is not capable of being a Pokemon game if it turns out to be difficult. Another reason why Pokemon games being difficult would be bad is for the fact that people just suck donkey dick at playing Pokemon. There will be some people out there that would go on a Reddit thread and ask what Pokemon to use, and then go on to dislike the game because they have to use actually good Pokemon to beat the game and not their quote-unquote favorites. This may put off people, from buying the game and may lose Game Freak more sales. But what if I told you there was a solution to this that would please both parties? And the fact that this said solution was already in a Pokemon game prior. And that is choosing said difficulty from easy, normal, and hard. And I know someone definitely commented this before watching the video. If you commented this, that tells me you haven't watched the video and I will laugh at you. So please, don't be that guy. But yeah, in Pokemon Black and White 2, you could choose what difficulty you wanted to play on between easy, normal, and hard. And unsurprisingly, this was also flawed. First of all, you didn't even have access to easy mode and challenge mode until after you beat the game. And second of all, challenge mode was exclusive to Black 2, which meant that White 2 players couldn't play that said mode. Obviously, you could transfer a key to unlock challenge mode to your White 2 save file, but that basically required owning both games, which I'd imagine most players didn't have. Here's how I would balance difficulty in Pokemon. You would have an easy, normal, and challenge mode when you first boot up the game. Easy mode for people who are relatively new to Pokemon, normal mode for most casual gamers who are familiar with Pokemon somewhat, and challenge mode for most hardcore gamers. And I will be focusing on challenge mode for this video. For challenge mode, you would be forced to play on set mode, as switch mode makes the game way too easy in your favor, and set mode is used for competitive battling technically. Then for challenge mode, you would not have access to use items in battles other than Pokeballs. Healing items are broken, X items are broken, you just wouldn't have access to use them in battle. And I would enforce level caps that match the gym leader's highest level Pokemon. And you would be stuck at that level cap until you beat the gym leader, of course. This is just so that you don't over level and make fights trivial by just over leveling. I would then just increase the difficulty of trainer battles and especially some boss battles like gym leaders. I feel like gym leaders should always have 6 Pokemon with some held items, since most ROM hacks usually do this, but I feel like if the team is still monotype, it shouldn't be too hard to beat if you have the type advantage. Also, as the game progresses further, as the player progresses further, the game's difficulty scales with this as well, to the point where the Elite Four has Pokemon with perfect IVs, EVs, perfect natures for their respective Pokemon. Something similar to what BDSP did with their Pokemon League. And that's probably all I'd really do, since you can't really do anything with overworld encounters, vitamins, natures, mints, etc. since the game has to be balanced around the other 2 modes as well as PvP. But yeah, I think difficulty should be in Pokemon games, but an option to choose whether you wanted to make it easier for yourself or harder for yourself, you know? Just a bit of something for everyone. But yeah, that's going to be it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord server, and comment down below whether Pokemon games should be hard or not. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.